My name is Ben Bungert. I'm the Director of Operations at Learn Launch Accelerator. Learn Launch Accelerator is an education technology accelerator specifically focused on early stage startups in Boston. We invest small dollars in a few early stage ed tech companies across early childhood, K-12, workforce, and higher ed. And then we take them through an intensive educational program surrounded by curriculums, human supports, and lots of different things to help them get from the business they have in market to a stronger business in the market. My job as Director of Operations covers a lot of different things. I go from booking meetings some days to helping raise money other days, to supporting companies with pitch decks, to putting together the educational curriculum, to matching mentors with companies, to welcoming people to our space for a showcase, to lots of different things. If you were to put my job into two different buckets, I'd say 50% of it is actually working on operations for the program itself, so the actual educational programming that we put our companies through. And then the other half would be operations for the business to make sure the business runs, so finance, accounting, marketing, all of those things. So it's a broad skill set, and it's a broad set of things that I have to do. Our team is really small, so it's kind of everybody does a little bit of everything kind of thing. We're 4 full-time employees. And every year we invest in up to 15 companies. So it's definitely a heavy lift, and there's a lot of need to go around. When companies come through our program, they have lifetime access to us as resources, and oftentimes they come to us so early that they really do need us for years and years to come. One of my really good friends is the founder of one of the companies from the first cohort back in 2012, and so there's always someone knocking at our door for something. So it's a busy, interesting sort of center of the ed tech ecosystem type of role. I love the diversity of things I get to do on a daily and hourly basis. If you saw my calendar, you'd know I'm kind of all over the place. So that's really one of my favorite things. The other is opportunity for new skill acquisition. There's so many different opportunities and so many different things I get to do or learn. And if I don't know how to do it, I either have to figure it out, or someone on the team can walk me through how to do it. So those are some of my favorite things about being at Learn Launch, besides the fact that there are amazing people, right? We're surrounded by some of the smartest people in the education and technology space. We get to do some good in the world in education. So not only do I get to do cool stuff, I get to do it around something that I find to be really, really, really interesting and impactful. And when I was at Northeastern, I sort of looked back when I was thinking about my next thing, and it was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what industry I want to go into, but it seemed like I'd been around all sorts of educational things before. And so it was sort of a no-brainer that, okay, maybe I'm not an educator, or maybe I'm not whatever, but I'm definitely interested in the education space and what education actually is, and how it manifests itself in the classroom or outside of the classroom. Northeastern's a super safe environment. You are running a club, you do have a budget, you do have a company, you do have all of these things, but someone's playing defense for you most of the time back at home, who's supporting you in being able to just focus on that thing. But it was all perfect, right? The opportunity to sit in a boardroom style management meeting, or be able to hire people into the clubs, or get to work with lots of different startups and sort of understand what it takes to support a startup, right? I learned that at the Entrepreneurs Club, but I certainly learned that at IDEA, just the amount of need. So it sort of prepared me for a world in which I was going to get questions from every single person on the street about startups. Not that I'd ever founded one, right? Not that I had experience in actually founding a company, but did I have resources or know people who could help, right? So being that sort of connector. And so I think that the things I took part in at Northeastern were exactly the things that were going to set me up for success in the job I have now. And then because of those opportunities, I'd gotten access to things outside of Northeastern's walls. Was involved in the New England Venture Capital Association. And so not only were there things outside of the class that I could take advantage of that were clubs and opportunities, but those clubs and opportunities had resources outside of the university. And so it's just like this great network effect. When I was applying freshman year for jobs, I just wanted a job. If we're going to be completely honest, I know a lot of my friends were like, I'm going to work at Amazon, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to go into this investment banking track. And I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. I remember crying in the Crensman Quad when I got my acceptance to EF. I was dead sure I was not going to get a co-op. And then I did, and I I was a mess in the quad because I was so relieved that I got this job at this company that I thought was the coolest thing ever, and happened to be in education. And it happened to be at a place that employed a ton of co-ops. And so it was a really interesting first experience. I think for me, once that sort of confidence set in that I could actually get a job, then I got to be not pickier, but a little bit more selective with the type of organization that I wanted to be a part of. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I started at EF. That was this huge organization. They have 35,000 employees worldwide, and almost 1,000 in Boston. They hired 50 or 60 co-ops or something. It's a crazy, crazy big organization, and it's super young. So I still have friends from EF who were in their 30s, and they were 10 years older than me at the time, but we had a lot of fun, and we're still really close. I think getting the experience from a really big company helped show me like what an office environment actually looks like. That's pretty formal. They're young and they're hip, but they're really formal in terms of like reporting structure and who is in charge of what. Is very hierarchical. And so that was a really interesting experience to get, and to know that if I wasn't in my seat at 9 a.m., they're going to dock me, right? That was, if you left early, they were going to dock you, right? I saw them fire a couple of people who kept showing up late, and I was like, and that's just part of the real world, right? So there's that one, and then and that was a wonderful experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I stayed there for a year. And then I worked at a company called Fixu. Fixu was a startup that was in scaling mode. They went from 80 employees to 300 while I was there. It just took off, and I was in the sales department, and I'm not a salesperson at all. I do not want to sell anything to anybody, but it was a great experience to learn the technical side of what it means to actually maintain a CRM and do cold outreach. And I bring those skills with me every time I send an email now. So it's invaluable experience in terms of like persuasive email writing and persuasive being able to demo a product, right? Really, really applicable skills. Even if it's just 6 months, and I still look back on that and think it was one of the more valuable ones. If I were to travel, if I were to go back and tell my freshman self what to do, I think that it would be, I think I definitely held out a little bit longer in doing some things at Northeastern, like joining the Entrepreneurs Club. Once I was in that club, it was pretty quick that I was really in it. But I have this I'm a little bit of a laggard when it comes to like adopting new things. I'm not an early adopter, right? It takes me a while. And when you have a finite amount of time, it definitely, you need to take life and just do it. I definitely had the slight disadvantage in that I was coming in from a foreign country. I was abroad for a period of time, and then my close friends were just those people. And so I'd missed sort of the opportunity of getting out there. I wouldn't take the Greece experience away for anything. Anyone was awesome. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It did take me a little while to get into it, but once I did, I was pretty deep into it. So I think I would tell myself to do it exactly like I did it, and maybe if I felt like it, get out of my dorm and go to an Entrepreneurs Club meeting sooner. But I was still figuring it all out. I think I don't have any regrets about my experience at all. I sort of laid it all out there and went for it. I'm sure there were things I could do better, but at this point, yeah. I think Northeastern has this wonderful sort of mentality that you can do anything and you should do it all now, and you should do it all as fast as possible. And that's not necessarily something Northeastern teaches you, but it's definitely in the startup environment. It's just the people that are around startups and the startup ecosystem at Northeastern. And I think I was resistant to that because I came from a place where my family's entrepreneurs, but they're not tech entrepreneurs. They're not trying to get somewhere as fast as they possibly can. We're looking to grow their company and IPO it or sell it, or they're just looking to do something they're interested in, that they enjoy and learn from it and be able to provide a good life for themselves and their family, right? And that's sort of like, some people think that's just sort of pedestrian. I think it's a path for entrepreneurship, right? That's one of the ways that this plays out. And I would just urge students to think a little bit more about what their path looks like, because sometimes the path and the representation you see in the Entrepreneurs Club or in IDEA or whatever, the people who are getting elevated and illuminated by the university or by their peers are the people who are doing like what we believe to be the coolest stuff. And I think that there's a lot of other things you can do. And I think there's a lot of different ways that entrepreneurs can be entrepreneurs. I also think that there's a a little bit of a, taking a step back and thinking about what is it that how can you utilize Northeastern's deep resources to build the thing that you want to build, if that's what you want to do. And if you don't want to build something now, that's okay, right? You don't have to be one of the 700 startups that's in idea, right? That you don't have to be one of those. I certainly wasn't, and I maybe at some point will be, but just because that's the thing that people are driving at doesn't mean you have to. I think this is going to sound bad, but I think don't set your sights too high or too far in the future. I think there's a lot of stuff that changes after you graduate. The 3, 4, 5, 6 years after school, you're learning a lot. I think I look back and I can't even think about how much stuff I actually learned in the time that I left school and I started and where I am now. You grow in ways that you don't know you will, and I think that people have this sort of, let's go as fast as possible. Let's get to the next thing. Let's do this 2 years at this company. Let's get this skill. Let's go to this thing. And it just feels like a hamster wheel. And for me, I'm just sort of like, I'm just going to stay put and keep learning until I stop learning, or I'm not interested in the environment anymore, or what I'm working on. And that's my biggest piece of advice to people, is to just follow the thing in front of you. And sure, think a little bit farther in the future, but don't always be itching to get to the next thing, because you may be missing stuff in front of you. And I was always the antithesis of goals and plans. Mostly not that I don't have goals or plans, but that I don't write them down because they change so quickly. If I were to look back, if I were to be a senior 4 years ago, looking at where I am now, I don't think I could have imagined it, because I think I imagined a world where I went to a job after graduation, stayed there for a couple of years, and then went to the next thing. That was kind of like that's the cool thing to do, right? Hop from startup to startup and learn and sort of climb the ladder. And I just went to Learn, Launch, and stayed. I think there's something to be said about going to a company and staying for a while and figuring out what you can learn there. And that's exactly what I've done and want to keep doing, right? I don't want to get stuck somewhere, but I'm here at Learn, Launch, enjoying it, learning new things every day. I look back and I'm like, I can't even quantify how much I've learned. And I also think that the amount of time you're at a place, you get more and more comfortable with the place and the people, that you're able to do more. They trust you more, and you're able to accomplish more. It just compounds, right? The amount you're able to learn and able to contribute, and the control you're given and the opportunity you're given. This is being recorded in December, and sometime in January or February of next year, officially, I, with the people that I work with, will be founding a new organization in education technology. And I never would have ever thought that that was possible. When I joined the Entrepreneurs Club, that was not something that people always ask me, oh, when are you going to start your company? And my answer is always, I'm not in the business of starting companies. I'm in the business of supporting companies. That's what I want to do. There is no plan. There's just work hard and figure out what the mission is. I have a North Star. I stick to the North Star, and wherever everything else takes me is great.